Okay, if it's okay with you guys, we'll make it a discussion because I hear myself all day long. So, what do you guys think of dating?
Hard.
Hard, good. Hence you're here. No, I'm just saying, I mean, we're in a dating class, right? What else would you say about dating? Now no one's going to say anything, right? It's complicated. I see you. I still see you. Yeah. Good. That was...
I'm making a dating app to fix a lot of things.
That is all the world needs. I am so glad you're doing that.
Rayn, is it double as a real estate developer?
What makes your dating app different?
It actually has concierge service, so...
Wow.
Are you gonna pick the app?
The answer is the only person you can swipe right on is Brian.
I'm not sure if I would invest in that one, but good move. A for effort. So, who here heard of a concept called bashert? Yeah, I know. Everybody raised their hand when they hear that. So, how would you define bashert? How would you define bashert?
Like it's meant to be.
Good. Okay. So we're going to just totally destroy your preconceived notions. So a lot of people think of this concept of bashert as it's meant to be, I'm just going to sit home and my soulmate will come. Right? Have you heard of Rav Moshe Feinstein?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a holy crowd, Rabbi. What do you...
I don't know who it is.
No? Okay. There's an app for that too. Called the Just put that on the to-do list. The rabbi, who's who. He was one of the great rabbis in America. And he said something fascinating, I think. He said, don't focus on this idea of bashert. Right? Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky said, whoever you stand under the chuppah with, that is your bashert. So,
we should go find our chuppah and all stand under it.
all together. But that's, you see, it won't guarantee us. This idea of bashert sometimes gets taken out of context, right? It's not something that's like a guarantee. We have to work on it. We have to make an effort. Just like everything in life. Somebody asked a stipler.
I can hear the
Yeah.
kids.
The kids up the stairs.
No,
What?
I'm just saying.
The opposite. They're too quiet. I know we get worried about that too at home. We got 3 little ones they got. So the stipler, somebody came up to the stipler, another big rabbi, and asked him, how come I haven't found my bashert? And the stipler said, you did. Her nose was too big. Her hair was a different color. She was too short, too tall, right? We have the power within us. Right? We have the power within us to find that person, to make ourselves a receptacle for that person. So, we're going to go through 2 quick things, and then we'll get more Lenny's. But 2 quick ideas. What is a spouse? Right? A partner, good.
Partner in crime.
Partner in crime. So we're going to talk about what to look for in this partner in crime. But first, we want to talk about this idea of playing hard to get. I know you usually don't get this in dating classes, right?
That's part of the game.
It's part of the game, okay. Most people will tell you what? Don't play hard to get. Don't play games at all. We're going to go through studies. Anybody here in psychology? Therapy? Need a therapist? No. Don't answer that. We're being taped. So, has anybody heard of something called heuristics?
Emotional damage.
Gosh, we need an army of therapists. Has anybody heard of a concept called heuristics? Okay. Basically, have you ever been shopping? There's a lot of women in the crowd. Good. Unanimous yes. So, have you ever seen, and I'll make the analogy men-friendly because I can't really relate to dress. I'm terrible at buying gifts. Every time I bought my wife a gift, it's gone back to the store. Literally, every single time. there's a concept, the Rambam says you're supposed to buy your wife something for the holidays. So Sukkot comes around, I'm like, man, I'm be a champ, you know? I'm like, here's my credit card. She's like, oh, I already have it on Apple Pay. I'm like, okay, well, could you get yourself something? Like, this explains a lot of the charges I didn't recognize. But could you go buy yourself something? No, I don't need anything. I went and bought her a beautiful dress with my daughter. Gorgeous, like the thing was stunning. She found out the price, returned it the next day. I'm like, what'd you do that for? So Heuristics says if that dress was 50% off, doesn't matter how much it started from, right? Let's just say it was $3,000. 50% off, most of us would buy it because we think, oh my, this is a deal. That's heuristics. That's how our mind works. That's why you have all these Black Friday deals. They're not real deals. They're just mentally built in a way. Trust me, I work on Black Friday deals all the time. You're not getting a deal. You're just thinking you're getting a deal because right before Black Friday, guess what? The prices are already set at an inflated level where even if they go down in Black Friday, they're still making a profit. But because they were set at that inflated level, in your mind mentally, thanks to heuristics, we think it's a deal. Now, what's the law of authority? And this will all make sense in dating, not just shopping. We got a lot of shopping tips so far. What's the law of authority? Have you ever been to Bloomingdale's?
Yeah.
What does the cosmetic counter lady dress as? She wears a white robe. Why? It's called law of authority. When she wears that, we automatically think, exactly. Right? Now, how does this work in life? So it's funny, I sent a friend of mine was like dying to get a watch, and they're very hard to get nowadays. If anybody's a watch collector, you know. So I send him to the store. The friend, right? Goes to the store. His wife sees a watch. I don't know if I want it. 5 minutes later, she calls back. Hey, I'm still debating the watch. The salesman goes, it's sold. You literally should have seen her reaction. She was at Hermes shopping. She dropped all her stuff. She ran to the store. It's like, what do you mean it's sold? I want that. I want that. I want that watch. Now, 5 minutes ago, she couldn't care less for the watch. What happened? The salesperson is telling me the story, by the way. I was like dying of laughter. It's like, what happened?
It's not attainable. No.
Yes. Good. Well, you want what you can't have, right? You could see kind of how this is playing into what we're talking about. Okay, good. I'm glad it makes sense to someone. 1 out of 20. So psychology today teaches us that people value something and desire something when it's difficult to attain, right? We look at scarcity principle, right? You look at what's happened in the economy the last 2 years, you see this left and right. Like, when has toilet paper been so desirable? I mean, really, like, I see toilet paper, I'd get so excited during COVID, you know? It's like, oh my God, I could buy toilet paper right now. Like, who cares? How much toilet paper do you need? But that's how our brains work, okay? I remember when Delilah first opened in Vegas at the Wynn, you couldn't get a table, right? Like, you literally, unless you're a celebrity, you could not get a table. And we finally got in, we got a table, and I was like, really? This is it? But because of that effect, and again, good clubs, etc., fine. So how does that affect us in dating? Can anybody figure it out? When someone really likes you and you go out with them, let's just say they get nervous. Happens, right? They didn't have enough to drink, they get nervous, and they either talk nonstop or can't say a word. This is being taped, so I can't tell you any of my disaster date stories. But you can imagine, I'm sure you guys have had that. They can't stop talking, or you can't get a word out of them. It could be because of what we're talking about. See, it could be that they're so nervous, they just can't say anything. Or it could be they just can't stop talking. So give them another chance.
Or maybe they're not interested.
Or maybe they're not interested. That's always the negative approach. Yes, thank you. But yes, that honestly, it could be a 2.
That's going in the
It could be. but that's the idea. If you're head over heels about somebody, it's going to automatically make you not that attractive to them because of these principles that we discussed, right? Yes.
Does this apply to both genders?
Good question. According to what I've learned, there is no difference in the genders. And I'll give you another study, by the way, that was done on women, which, in case that's the gender you're thinking of, just guessing, that'll actually prove the point. So there's a study in 2011. They took college women who viewed Facebook profiles of men, male students, okay? Kept it kosher. They were told the men had previously viewed their Facebook profiles. And they said the men had 3 reactions. Okay, follow. It's not that complicated. It just sounds complicated. The men liked them a lot. A. B. He liked you average. Or C. He really doesn't know how he feels. He's uncertain. So initially, women reported liking the men who liked them a lot, right? It's great. But then more women actually chose which one? C.
The one who's unsure.
The one who's unsure.
Yeah.
That was the number 1 pick choice in this study. Okay? So we can also fall for this trap, by the way. So we see how it works in the positive way, but we can fall for it because if the other person knows how to play into heuristics and scarcity effect, then we might like them for the wrong reasons. You hear? What do we do? Stay single. No, I'm kidding. It's the moral of this class in one sentence. No, I'm kidding. No, you, like anything in life, you have to be cognizant of it. The minute we're aware of these things and these principles that are at work, we just have to be aware of it. And then we don't fall for the trap. And at the same time, we don't show we're head over heels, right? The other principle is one other psychological principle, then we'll get into more meat and potatoes. Have you ever been to a supermarket? Does anybody do shopping anymore? Or is it just Inspire? Okay.
One option.
What's that?
Trader Joe's one option.
Yes, I agree, totally. See, so they did studies, and they did a study of, for example, jam. They had 24 varieties of jam in one table, and 6 on another table. Guess which table got more visits?
6.
That was a trick question, got y'all. 24. 24 got more visits, but guess which one sold more?
The 6.
The 6.
Because there's less to choose from.
Yes. It's called choice paralysis. And that's why when you go into a store like Trader Joe's, it's amazing. My favorite store to shop in. Like I have one type of crackers I can choose from. It's only one blueberry waffles that are always out of stock, but there's only one type that you can choose from. Why? It makes it easier. So how does that relate to dating? Oh man, I thought this would be more clear.
On the dating apps.
Yeah. Wow, you're killing the other guy's idea, but yes. Absolutely. It's gonna be hard to raise that C funding. Too many choices. And the problem is, when there's too many choices,
We get overwhelmed.
you get overwhelmed. So problem A is you get overwhelmed, right? Problem B, and by the way, you can use this, anybody here in sales? Good. Man, usually get a few more. So, Mark, oh, yes, the app guy, of course. You've been selling all night. So, what happens in sales, you also don't want to have too many choices. You have to make it simple for the customer. KISS. Right? If you don't, tough luck. You might have the greatest thing in the world. It's the Apple model, simple. So one thing we mentioned is too many options in the dating scene. But the flip side is if you date too many people, guess what happens then?
You know what you like?
It's a very nice way of thinking about it. You think you know what you like. No, I'll tell you what. you may get to know what you like and don't like more, but you are now more confused than ever. Because you're now looking, and I know this from guys I know, right? I don't know what the girl side of it is, so I apologize. It might be different. But from the guys I know, it's like they're trying to make the perfect woman. It's this girl's looks, and this girl's cooking, and that girl's IQ. What's that? They're still single. Yeah.
To be honest, it's the same for women too. They say like, okay, look, this guy doesn't do this guy doesn't do that. There is no respect, but the respect is on both sides, and there is none if there,
Right.
It's on both sides. We have the same.
Yeah, it's natural. It's human nature. I'm glad you confirmed it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I learned one thing tonight. I can tell my wife. I learned something.
No, I think
So,
see, the problem is that us women, we also don't take responsibility sometimes.
it's our generation.
I wish it was always nice.
But those are. You guys have a tough crowd. I don't know how you deal with it, guys.
Talking right here.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just, in light of how honest these women are being. Okay, so I think like what women want is men who are proactive, and men are not always so proactive.
You mean swiping on an app is not proactive?
Cheating, following up,
I agree. It's the extra mile.
like doing that and not like questioning it, just doing it as like almost an instinct. Like I think that's like what's not.
But they have to be hard to get.
No, but
But you're at a certain stage in your life, a certain age, a certain culture, whatever. You want someone who's serious. I'm speaking for whatever is the minority or the percentage of people who think like me. But like that makes it easier to decide if this person is serious.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to skip ahead. The point you made is actually a point Tony Robbins makes. So, in today's world, what was your name again?
Scarcity.
If it's being taped, maybe.
Oh, okay, maybe. Good idea. But what Anonymous is saying, black hair, 5'10", is something interesting. Have you had a crush? Raise your hand if you've had a crush in high school on a girl, but she liked the older guy.
Or a guy.
Right, or the flip.
Or she actually liked the girl.
I always got the out of the box examples. It's great. Or she liked the older girl, right? Just keep it consistent. So, in today's world, unfortunately, the men aren't shown enough masculinity. Okay, this is from Tony Robbins, right? Saying the roles are almost reversed. He had a woman who makes $1 million a year, and she can't for the life of her find a match. Because men are just like, I don't know, like they get so self-conscious around that girl. So you're absolutely right. Keep it anonymous, but you're absolutely right. So let's delve into just must-haves. So number one is a little bit more masculinity on the men's side, right? A little more taking initiative. Like we didn't have that problem 10 years ago because we didn't have your future app or Tinder or Bumble. We didn't have any of these apps. It was go up to someone and have a conversation and get to know someone. And honestly, like Rabbi Mullah was saying, these trips are great opportunities. My wife and I went on a trip. We really have to make sure we cut out some stuff. But my wife and I went on a trip and we met in 2009, I think it was, 2010 in East Jerusalem. And we didn't date, but we really got to know each other. Like we became such good friends. I ended up going out with another girl from the trip. Full disclosure. But we remained friends. And I realized that I love hanging out with her like more than anyone, more than my girlfriend at the time. And like, I must like her more, So I was just brutally honest. Didn't go so well. It doesn't always go so well. And we ended up dating, I think 6 months later, and our first date was in if any guys want to take your girl on a date when you're on the trip, I'm gonna give you the best spot. Ready for this? Mamilla Mall. There's a hotel there. It's called Mamilla Hotel, right? Rooftop, restaurant, overlooking in Jerusalem. Yeah, overlooking the Kotel. Like, it won't get more romantic than that. Forget the Eiffel Tower. Forget all that. Like, that's the spot. And it's like kind of holy. So we end up going out and we end up getting married because we got to know each other well on this trip, right? Because we approached each other and we talked about subjects that, other than like, what movies do you like, right? I actually don't think I even asked her that. Probably should ask her now. Okay, so what are some must-haves? Must-haves in a spouse.
Initiative, respect.
The Rambam says you must respect your spouse. Good. What were you saying?
Shared visions for the future if you want kids.
Okay, good.
Same
That-
values.
Trust as well. Just
There's something even more basic. You guys are really holy. I mean, this is Jewish. Well, I was gonna say men to women, women to men, given the example before. What was that?
Healthy communication.
Okay.
Loyalty.
I'm gonna start with something very, very, very basic. It's called attraction. Okay, I'm sorry, we're bringing it really like low level, but you gotta have attraction. Before any of those other things, you gotta be attracted to the person. But what does attraction mean? Have you ever met Rev Wilner? Wilner, H. Jerusalem.
Yes.
So he's like the marriage guru there. He taught Rabbi Jacobs like 20 years ago. He's like the guru of marriage. So he gave an example. The girl doesn't have to be drop dead gorgeous. As a matter of fact, it's probably helpful if she's not. She just, attraction, does it build or does it not build? It builds. Okay, good. I don't have to convince you on that one. I remember when we had our first daughter, we only had one daughter. When we had our first kid, we looked at each other and she was in our bed. It was like one of those moments, you know? And I laughed at her and I said, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I can't believe I said I love you when we were just dating. Like, the feelings you have for your spouse, especially after having a child, are exponentially greater. Like, you can't even compare it. So attraction, that connection, it, in a healthy relationship, it only builds. Right? There's a great book, if anybody is having a kid, I mean, I don't recommend it before marriage, but there's a good book called Baby Makes Three. And it literally just, the statistics are, I think it was 66% like go down after a kid, and the other 34% just, the relationship takes another level. So attraction and chemistry build, okay? The next thing you guys mentioned is midot, values. What, tell me a value. What's an example of a value?
Family, like close with their family.
Okay, that could be good or bad, by the way.
Yeah, true. Especially in certain cultures.
In the Chumash, it says, and man got married v'davak beishto, and he clings to his wife. If you look at the commentary there, it says yes, he leaves the house of his parents and he clings to his wife. Right? It's very important you guys have a very strong bond. Above all, what's a good example of a character trait, of a good trait?
kindness.
Selflessness.
Patience.
Oh, patience. That's still working on that one. Patience. It's good. Yeah, it's yeah. You try having 3 little kids running around. I just had.
Understanding.
What's that?
Understanding.
Understanding. Okay.
Gratitude.
Gratitude is key. Like, the most attractive trait my wife has is her gratitude. Right? It's literally like she's grateful for things that like great, you know? She's so grateful for little things that I would take for granted. We're taking a walk on Shabbat. It's like she notices all these flowers and like, I'm just thinking about the children at home, you know? It's an amazing trait. But I'll tell you what Rabbi Jawari said is I think one of his top traits that he would recommend. He's a grandpa. I'll take his word for happiness. Right? Does he or she smile? Little things. Right? Are they positive? Or do they look at the positive or are they always looking at the negative? You know? The Rambam says we have to know the other person's dispositions. When we're dating, learn what they are like. Right? Angry. Are they angry? That's a big red flag. You know what the Rambam says is the worst trait, right? Wow, how'd you guess that one? Anger. Anger is terrible. Terrible. The Gemara says when you're angry, it's like worshiping idols. Yes. Anonymous.
Is it really realistic though? Because like if you're with someone, you're dating someone for a while, there's gonna be periods of time where you're stressed about something, you're unpleasant, you're angry, and I just don't think it's like I think it's so easy to be like, oh, be happy, be zen, be peaceful, but like everyday life is not like that.
That is a absolutely good point.
Especially in Jewish culture, let's be real, we never complain. So like, we're not complaining anymore. That's cool. But I didn't get the memo growing up.
Yes. It's called kvetching in Yiddish. It is against our DNA. Yes, it is something we have to overcome. But do you have an answer to that, or?
I think it's more so about how we react to things as opposed to you being angry.
So
I think you can control a lot of things, and where that is how you react and your emotions towards something. And if you can't express that, then it might be time to take a step back and reevaluate what's going on.
Pirkei Avot, you just reminded me of Pirkei Avot. It says the best trait of anger, right? This is this guy's like the saint of anger, how he conquers anger. It's not someone who never gets angry. It's someone who's hard to get angry, but easily appeased. And the commentary that says, because it's impossible not to have that initial reaction. It's basically what you were saying, right? It's all about how we react to it.
I was also just going to say the idea of perfection, that you can't find someone who's angry. It's in itself a sin in Judaism. It's why they changed the laws about who priests and Kohanim could be, because they weren't supposed to be perfect. They were allowed to have blemishes. They were allowed to have things like this. It's why our most famous prophet, Moses, struck a rock and showed that he was not infallible, because perfection itself is a sin. It's one of the things you say on Yom Kippur. So it's really more of just, are they overall, as you talked about in one of your Taco Tuesdays, are they at least at 51% moral, rather than all bad, or 49%, or whatever percentage it might be. But if they at least have that much goodness in them, can it outweigh any of the negative attributes?
Yeah.
I can interject if you want, just quickly, a nice idea. There's a rabbi that once explained...
How about, come on, you need a mic.
Yeah. But there's a rabbi that once explained, this can help you. Whoever was asking about anger and how it's like we have to be real. Yes, we have to be real. And I agree with you that people get angry, people have all these bad traits in us. We have laziness, everyone has those in us. But the question is, not the first initial spark, the second spark, the third spark, the fourth spark, the ones that are unnecessary. So if you see, for instance, if you see that you're getting angry, this example is actually shown in men overcoming their temptations and the way that they look at people. So the Torah says that when you look at someone, you shouldn't use them in a way where you're looking at them objectively. And we can control that. So you go into a store, you talk even to the opposite sex. You walk into a store and you say, hi, how you doing? But you've got to be able to control yourself objectively and look at them as a normal person, and not just look at them as, something in the market, You get what I'm saying? So you've got to, that's actually a requirement. Like we've got to be normal in the way that we look at people and not objectify people. And this goes obviously both ways, but much stronger on the male side. It's much more important for us in terms of that. And one rabbi was asked, how can I ever overcome this? It's so hard. Every time I go in the streets, every time I see a billboard, I look at people objectively. It's just too hard for me. He said, you're right, it is hard, but we're not asking you to overcome the first look. We're asking you to overcome the second look. And it's kind of what you were saying, which is that, yes, initially a person gets angry. Yes, initially he gets frustrated. But why are you going on and on and on? Why are you doing this publicly when you could control it and bring it out later? There's a certain point where your anger is unnecessary. There's a certain point where your hatred was unnecessary. There's a certain point where you hit and you got upset with your child, let's say. I don't hit my child in case you're thinking, I don't. But let's say somebody gets upset and you got frustrated and you did something. Okay, but why did you go a little bit more? Why did you do it a little too hard? The Egyptians enslaved the Jews, but they didn't need to do too much. It was a part of God's plan, but they didn't need to do too much. So I think when it comes to finding, because we have to be real, you're right, about anger and all these bad traits, it's looking for the exaggeration in those traits. Is the person even trying to overcome the second one, the third one, the fourth one, like the way that you look at someone? Okay, at first I see someone and I looked at them objectively, but why am I continuing to do that? Oh my gosh, look at, like that part was not unnecessary. The first part when you look at someone, okay, that's my nature, I'm a human being, I'm an animal. My body is an animal. But it's the continuation that I didn't have to do, and that I can control. So that's really the interjection I think is really important. Sorry.
That was great. Okay, so 51% happy. Okay. But you get what I'm saying. I mean, I think everybody's saying the same thing. It's overall, are they a positive person? We all have down days. We all have stresses. We all live in LA, right? Let's get real. So next thing to look for, or really more of a question, how long should you date?
For what?
Like until marriage, until engagement,
breakup.
Is that like not how it works nowadays? You guys not gonna get till you, I guess, pop the question.
24 hours.
Always dating your partner.
Until you're sure.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Is that to be always dating your partner?
Good, okay. It wasn't a trick question. You should always feel that way.
like
They-
3 months. I said
Good.
3 to 6 months. By 3 months, you should know, like, if this
Okay.
is the type of person you want to be with. By 6 months, it's like definite that like this is like the absolute person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Men usually know within the first 3 weeks if this is the that.
Oh, you're giving us a lot of credit. We'll take it. I'm not saying no.
But if you're dating correctly,
Yeah.
like you should know that that's the person you want to be with. If they show all the qualities that you've been looking for, if they show the same values as you, the same interests as you, if you're attracted at the same level or not, all of these things, like do they mentally stimulate you? Are they like meeting your criteria?
I think this is a woman thing.
Okay, you tell me. What do men think? Men.
Here, we got one guy raising his hand. Let's give him the.
Hi, it's me, the Jewish educator. So, the thing is,
That's great.
This is things that I learned from my grandparents and my parents who are in their 60s and 70s. People, we all know this as well, people change dramatically over time. So even if you know within that 6 months that this person is right, how do you know what they're going to be like in 2 years? If I was like I was at 21, I would expect none of you to still be friends with me. I wouldn't be friends with me. But the thing that I remember my grandmother saying to me before a very long time ago was, by the time my grandfather passed, it was like I was married to 3 different people over the course. And I feel like it's not that 6 months or that 3 months where you want to spend the rest of your life with someone. It's you take that year, you take that thing to see how they change and be like, can I be the person and can you be the person that I want to grow and change with? And that is a vastly different idea than, we share the same values.
Right.
We share the same chemistry, whatever. Because you're going to be a different person in 5 years and 6 months and however. But if you know that you can change with that person, which is why, I'm going to say again, men do not take 3 weeks. My God. My God, wherever you're getting that statistic from, tell them they need to lose whatever mat livery they have.
I was gonna say it took me a little longer. Even if you change that to months, I think.
I don't disagree with that at all. but you see the difference is that does that person that you're also dating bring out the best in you? Do you want to be better for them? Do you want to be better for yourself, for that person that you're going to change and grow with? Because that also takes into consideration what your grandma told you. Women change more than men in a relationship than men do, because women go through the ages of what? Getting married, then being at home with a specific other person, usually taking on more of the household work. Then they have kids. They have to watch their kids grow. Then their kids move out. Men do the same thing, but men usually are more at home, at work than women are. But hell, it's different these days, you know.
I'm not saying.
What I'm just saying is that men see that too.
Yeah, I would say that these are not mutually exclusive by any means. What I'm saying is that there needs to be both, and someone needs to be able to see that they can grow and change, and that they want to grow and change as well. And there's different times in everyone's life where they may not be open or susceptible to change, which is why you'll always hear the excuse, "Oh, I'm not ready to date right now." But someone might not actually be ready to date by then, and they don't want to put you in a situation where they can't give you what you deserve and what you respect.
So the key to what you're saying is flexibility. Because
Thanks, I forgot the word. Maybe it's on Brian's apple.
you know, I don't know if any of you have been to the Dr. Lieberman dating class. Okay, a few years ago. Fine. So his thing, this is one of the world-renowned psychologists. He wrote over like a dozen books. When he was dating, the number one thing he looked for was what? Someone who is flexible. Because we're going to change, right? But we need to date long enough. Rabbi Tatz says he gives 8 months as kind of the ballpark, right? Rabbi Akiva Tatz. He says don't rush into it, but especially if you're not like from the firm world, then it's different. But for most of us, I think, 8 months till you get married is a normal time period. But we really should date long enough where you're always going to have surprises, but you're not learning anything new about them. You know what I mean? You've been on enough dates, you've had long walks and talks, and you're really dating. I think somebody on this side was saying, you're dating the right way, right? You're dating the right way, so you're really getting to know them. Now, what about culture? What's that? Plays a huge role. So it should be compatible. Studies have shown cultural compatibility is important. What about money?
Depends on the person.
You know, it's shallow, but yes, it does matter.
So if
These 3 Mercedes.
what was that? Sorry.
I figured you're talking about more about spending habits as opposed to whether someone has money or not.
Correct. Well, both ways. So is it important, for example, Rabbi Jar was saying, if money is important to a guy or girl, they should be open about it. Don't hide it. Don't surprise, actually, this is what I need to live on. Just be honest about it. Talk. Don't assume. But the same thing goes if a girl or a guy, comes from a lavish background and now he's starting off his life with you, he could rough it up. Don't assume things. Just talk about it. Right? Outlook on life. We talked about that, right? We should have the similar outlook on life. And here's the real kicker. If there's one line to just take away from tonight, it's this. The best way to know if you're going to be compatible is, do you want to make that person happy? Now, I had no idea I did this, or at least I forgot. My wife saved a picture of her old phone from our wedding date. She had a picture of a text. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. We're looking at baby pictures, and all of a sudden there's this weird picture of a text, And it was green, the old Samsung. I don't remember those. Nobody remembers that. And I texted on our wedding day that my goal in life is to make you the happiest woman in the world. Aww. I had no idea why I did that. I'm kidding. but honestly, that's the mindset we should have. Is, do we want to make that person happy? Kabbalah teaches us the wife is going to be like a mirror, right? If we bring in as men the positive energy, that excitement and that willpower to make her happy, she'll reciprocate. But are we in it for ourselves? Or do we want to make her happy? right? That's the real question. You know, my wife is Persian, and I don't speak the language. I definitely don't listen to music. Right? And before we got engaged, or before we had our engagement party, which was like a Persian engagement party. So if you've been to one, you know them all. I decided to surprise her, and I knew she really loves Persian music. Like, we had a Persian singer, so, you know, no idea what the guy was saying the whole time. He was literally looking in my eyes and telling me something, and I'm just like, yes, yes. Like, hopefully he said nice things. And I surprised her, and I took Persian dance classes before the party. Aww. And let me tell you, like, it was not an awe moment the first couple classes. It was really brutal. I think the teacher kicked me out a few times. But eventually I kind of got into it because it was important for her. That was, I won't say the last thing on my to-do list, like, in life, but it was definitely like one of the last things. It wasn't, you know, it's a lot of other things I like to spend my time, but it was important for her. And it gave me such joy because we bonded over something, right? And she was so happy to find out. I think one time she just like found out randomly that I'm taking these classes. But that's the idea there. So we'll end with, some of us have bedtimes for kids that'll wake us up. We'll end with one little idea, okay? This is like my favorite part. If we're going to have the best spouse, what do we need to do first?
He's the best person.
Wow, great. You haven't said anything all night. That's good. He's rubbing off on you. We have to be the best person because we attract who we are.
But I think everyone's a really good person.
Don't argue, you're right. LB. So we are all good people, but do we have a desire to work on ourselves?
I just want to say, I said be the perfect plan, the best person, working towards to be the best person, because be the best person, you always work towards
Correct.
becoming.
None of us are perfect. I mean, like the example I think you mentioned, Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, I mean, we all are human, which is the beauty of the Torah. But work on perfecting ourselves, right? Work on, whether it's, we know ourselves better than anyone knows ourselves, right? Your spouse will know you better, by the way. But for now, we know, or you know yourselves best. What do I need to work on? Do I need to be more giving? Do I need to be more kind? Do I need to be, whatever it is, you know? The Gemara in Brachot says, you get 6 mitzvahs for giving $1. Giving charity. You get 6 mitzvahs. Great. You get 11 mitzvahs for saying a kind word to that person. Right? How many of us are looking at other people and noticing them in life? Right? It doesn't have to be, we're not just dating wise. This is just ourselves. How many of us are noticing somebody having a bad day and saying, hey, what's up? Right? We're usually oblivious. We're in our little screens. We're oblivious to the world around us.
So I want to say something on that. So I think the problem with a lot of the world nowadays is that that's can lead into like people maybe disclosing something they're not comfortable. Like everyone's facing an issue, so if you were genuinely telling your colleague at the office what's up, or even depending on what it is, like I think that's why relationships have even more pressure on them nowadays, because at the end of the day, it's like you're more intimate and you disclose more with either the person you're dating or a really close friend. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you shouldn't like go spill your laundry, you know, like.
I know, but I talk about this with like close friends too. It's that like I think like no one wants to talk about something bad that happened to them 5 minutes ago. So again, I think that's like why there's just like more of a, whatever you want to call it, pressure or weight put on relationships, because it is harder to have those like intimate, not intimate physical intimacy, but like more like less surface level conversations.
Yeah, and studies have shown what you're saying. It's really emotional intelligence, right? We're lacking a lot of that emotional intelligence because we're so much on social media. We feel like we're connecting, but we're really not connecting. And then when it's about connecting in the real life, we're just
There.
yeah, exactly. So it's absolutely true.
About the level of emotional investment, usually sometimes it would be like at the beginning, if you invest in emotionally too fast, sometimes it can scare the person off because it's too early.
Right.
And then sometimes it's the opposite. So what do you say about that in like the time frame of, because it depends on people.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to like first date launch on a, here's what's bothering me in life and here's that. You have to just gauge the other side. The other person's really emotional. A lot of times, it's a sales technique, but being vulnerable gets you closer to that other person.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to do, but if you're vulnerable, whether it's with a client or whether it's with a person you're dating, you open up, you can't explain it, right? But you all of a sudden are connecting in a different way. Because you've opened up, they see you trust them. And it doesn't have to be in a, deceiving way. It's nice to connect to other people. And sometimes we just have to be open to connect, right? So that's working on ourselves. And that's really the key to that. And we'll end with one statistic. There's a Dr. Gottman. Anybody heard of him? So he is like the guru for marriage. He's had a love lab. He predicts divorce with a 91% accuracy. That's scary. Right? And you know what the key to a relationship, according to his studies, and he's done this for over 25 years. The key to a strong relationship is what? Okay, everybody says communication.
Honesty?
Okay. These are all qualities connected to this. Strong friendship. Right? I'll quote you a line from this book. It's actually interesting. The determining factor in whether wives feel satisfied with sex. Okay? Oh, everybody got quiet. Romance and passion in their marriage is by 70% the quality of the couple's friendship. And by the way, the statistic works both ways for men and women. So a lot of times we say they're our friend, and a lot of times they are. But sometimes that friend might be the best spouse. You hear? And that's what we're trying to build, a strong friendship. Okay, I'll leave you with the story. My wife lost her wedding ring. It happens. It'll happen to you too. Don't worry. And we lived in a high rise, and she thought she put it in the trash can.
Oh, no.
That trash can, yes. So, like a typical man, I said, I'll just get you a new one. Like, don't cry. It's okay. Don't worry. It's, if money can fix it, thank God. That's a good problem to have. Rabbi Heck was over today. He said, I am so blessed. My problems are with money. People have health problems, mental problems, relationship problems. I mean, those are much harder to fix. And it wasn't her diamond ring, it was her wedding band. And then she burst out crying even more. By the way, men, we can never get it right. This is proof. I'm like, what happened? I offered to buy you a new one. It's like, you don't understand. I'm like, we never understand. That's why we're men. It's like, no, that was my wedding ring. Like, I know. Cartier made a few more of them. They have it at the store right now. I can just go grab it. And I wasn't winning this battle. And she was just sad. I was like, okay. Well, I went downstairs to the gym. I said, well, maybe I could try to look for it. And it was like, I don't know what happened. The trash guy just didn't come for a week or two. I don't know. It was like overloaded, flies everywhere. I mean, I had a lot of respect for trash men after that. Yeah. And long story short, I went through probably 20 bags of trash. And I found a glove. And inside the glove was her ring. I kid you not. There's a plastic latex glove that she used to do the dishes or something. I don't know what she was using it for. And inside that glove, and everybody shops at Trader Joe's, by the way, I found out that day. Because everyone had Trader Joe's, so I was like, oh, this will be easy. I'm just going to look for the bag that has the most Trader Joe's. No. So the moral of the story, and hopefully the moral of tonight, was just try to make that other person happy. Let's try to be the best person we can be. We're not gonna be perfect, but let's try to be positive. Try to be happy. Try to look for the good. And Bezrat Hashem, next year we'll all celebrate the weddings or engagements. All right.